Chapter 4. ChungKing. Yes, we were in a free province, but we were still a long way from ChungKing, the capital of China, where my grandfather lived. There was still great hardship ahead, miles of walking through snow-covered mountains, with frostbitten hands and feet so painful we thought we couldn't go another step. When we were all ready to give up, we spotted a truck that had been left behind by the Japanese. It was a strange-looking vehicle that burned charcoal instead of gasoline and was propelled by a steam engine. I'd never seen anything like it before. We all gathered wood and were soon on our way with wheels under us. The winding road through the mountains was very narrow. At times we had to get out of the truck because the wheels were only inches from the edge of the steep cliffs, and we feared we would plunge to our deaths on the rocks below. We could see where other trucks and buses had fallen over, probably carrying hundreds of people to painful death in the valley. After all we had endured already, we didn't want our journey to end like that. As we approached the city of ChungKing in our strange vehicle, all 27 of us were still alive. How grateful we were. We arrived in ChungKing just after the new year. People were streaming into the city from all directions to escape the horrors of the Japanese occupation. When we arrived, within sight of my grandfather's house, I could hardly believe my eyes. It was perched at the very top of a hill all its own, and there were 5 flights of steep stairs leading to it. We were all really puffing when we reached the top. It was noontime, and my grandfather was not at home, but we were greeted by the wife of my father's half-brother and her children, one a girl about my age. I went to the kitchen for some welcome food, and then to the room where I could unpack my beggar's clothes. When grandfather, the chairman of the board of the Bank of China, arrived at 5 o'clock, and I was introduced to him for the first time, I just stood and stared. I had heard so much about him all my life, and there he was, the most interesting-looking man I had ever seen. His eyes looked just as little and piercing as I had heard they did. He seemed to be wearing a very old suit, with several layers of heavy underclothing beneath it. He walked with a stick. But more remarkable than anything else about him were his ears. They hung down almost as long as the side of his head, and there was a cord leading from one of them to a hearing aid in his pocket. I knew it wasn't polite, but I couldn't help staring. Grandfather was looking me over, too. Then he asked brusquely, "Child, don't you have any decent clothes to wear?" Strangely, I wasn't afraid of him. I detected a note of friendliness under his gruff exterior. My father explained for me that we had been forced to travel as beggars and leave our clothing behind. He gave a little snort of approval or disapproval, I couldn't tell which, and asked another granddaughter, who was about my size, if she didn't have something she could give me in place of the rags I was wearing. Mother got a dress from her sister-in-law, and father put on one of his father's suits. So the matter of suitable clothing was soon taken care of. I could tell the grandfather's family was very rich and cultured. There was a lot of beautiful, very expensive furniture in the house, but it was a very different home from the ones to which I had been accustomed in Shanghai. To begin with, ChungKing was not as modern a city as Shanghai, and there was no electricity or running water in the house. All water had to be carried in from the outside. I soon learned to be very conservative, using every pitcher or basin full for several purposes before it